Hey, Armin here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills. We appreciate you joining us today, whether you're watching or listening. Thank you so much for doing so. Today, we've got another great show, and involves, looks like a lot of work from what I looked at. But what we're going to be talking about today is the benefits of high rep sets and how they're going to work for you. And also, we'll be talking about, of course, your fan questions and input for the show. Got some pretty interesting content there as well. So that being said, let's get going. Now, Armin, this should be a great topic, talking about the benefits of high rep sets. And yeah, this is something that you probably do a lot of, huh?
Oh yeah. There's one of the things about high rep set is a lot of people make a lot of assumptions and there's some myths about, are they good for you and how beneficial they really are. And I've learned a lot about using them over the years, and there's definitely a place for using high rep sets. And so that's what we want to kind of bring to everybody's attention and see if we can enlighten them to some other strategies for their training.
Okay. Well, I guess what we should get started with is, so everybody understands, what is considered a high rep set.
Well, what you're going to see generally as a rule is you're going to see 12 to 20 reps would be considered high rep sets, just because that's what most people have been doing. But I've experimented, with other rep schemes, and I've also done 100 reps in a set as well, which is a whole nother element to the ball game. So what we're going to get into here is all the nuances about how these sets can affect you and what to kind of expect from it.
Okay, so seriously, when you said high rep sets, I was thinking like maybe 40 or 50. 100? Really? Are you serious? 100?
Yeah, it's quite a brutal training strategy. I mean, it really is, but the effects are very interesting. Again, I've done it from my own personal experience, and so that's what we're going to
Uh-huh.
talk about is my personal experience. I've done it with clients, but not a lot of clients typically want to go through that. So, but I have, have done it with them.
Right.
So, the thing is with that high rep set scheme is I mostly did them for like the weaker areas that I felt needed more work, and that would be my legs, and then also my back exercises.
Okay.
So now I've done it for other areas too, but mostly those because I wanted a different approach, and I had learned about them a long time ago, and there was a period of time where people were really experimenting with them, and there are people that still do it, but what I felt from it was pretty tremendous. So one of the things is once you're done, when you do 100 reps with whatever muscle group you're doing it, you're going to have a complete pumped and completely, uh, blown up muscle
Mm-hmm.
by the time you're done, because you're going to be using every other muscle or, every fiber you can to get to that 100 rep set.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a very intense, process. So, for example, it's like when I do squats, when I first started, it was pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what I was able to build up to every time I did a 100 rep set, whether it be to rehab my hamstring or just to, focus on my quadricep development, is I would be able to, that muscle was so engorged, it would just totally just activate every muscle fiber I thought that I had in my legs, because they were, I couldn't really move. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I could feel it, especially, the next day that was even more intense. But when I do it, it is a game changer, and it's something that, the soreness is pretty extreme. So, especially the first few times you do it, even though you may use really light weight. So, again, it's a real eye opener as far as I was concerned. But it's tough training, but I really liked what I got from
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, Armin, I'm kind of curious, how do you
it.
determine the weight to start with, and how many sets are you doing in these reps continuously?
All right, so those are some pretty good questions, which I'm sure people are kind of curious about if they haven't
Mm-hmm.
ever done it. So, obviously, when you first start out, you got to go light because you didn't even know how if you're even going to finish.
Right,
And
right.
so the first time I tried to do it, I didn't really finish. I couldn't make it. So I knew it was going to require a lot more mental toughness to do it. But one of the things is, for example, when I started squatting to help develop my squat better and my technique better, which it will do,
Mm-hmm.
I had to start with a bar. And so the first time I did, I started with a bar, and I barely got 50 reps. It's just like holy mackerel. So the next time I next time I did it, and then I got more reps, and
Right.
eventually I got to 100 reps.
Okay.
So then when I got to 100 reps with the bar, typically what you're going to find is the first 50 reps or so are not too bad, because the problem you're having is you're running out of oxygen and you're getting depleted from your glucose, all the contractions. So when you run out of air, you're kind of gasping a little bit. So you got to kind of catch your breath, suck in some more air, and then see how many more reps you can squeeze out. So as you get through this process, you try to squeeze out 10, 15, or whatever reps you can. Then eventually it gets down to where you can squeeze out 5 or 6, and you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of keep taking a break, catch your breath, and squeeze out some more until you finally hit it,
Right.
and then you're done. So with that being said, I'd only recommend one set of uh, of that 100 rep set. That's going to be
Okay.
plenty due to the lactic acid buildup. Now, doesn't mean you cannot go train some other exercises, but just understand you're going to be a hell of a lot weaker at that point from the level of fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something that when I was doing it, I I started with that exercise I wanted to focus on, or the muscle group as well, first, because I had to make sure I was mentally fresh, everything was fresh to get it done. There's no need to really warm up with anything because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get plenty of warm up. So that was the other thing too. You just get your head game set up and then you go at it.
Okay.
So now what happened is over time, I was doing this about every couple of weeks because the soreness was pretty intense and it's pretty intimidating. Okay, because you know what to expect. It's going to get ugly. But I was able to, doing the 100 rep sets with squats, work up to about 135 pounds, and that was pretty gut wrenching. And I kind of maxed out at that point because what happens is when you start going heavier, because you're fatiguing at such extreme level. What I found for me, anyways, and it may not be for everybody, but my back started bothering me because of you start cheating everywhere where you can't get the weight
Right.
up. So
Right.
you got to find your body's looking for some places to get a break on. So that's what I found in my case. So, but I did work up to 135 pounds
Hmm.
and squatting for 100 reps, and it is brutal. So, um, you know, it's just one of those things you just have to kind of experiment on your own. But I remember how my legs felt after each session. I mean, and again, it's just amazing how full they are and how you engage almost every part of the muscle in your legs, especially with a squat movement, because it does
Mm-hmm.
work the glutes, works the hamstrings and the quads. It's not as efficient for the quads, though, I guess, in some opinions, but nevertheless, I was sore all over. So just
Mm-hmm.
you want to keep that in mind if you want to give it a try.
As you're working like that too, and I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but does that increase the maximum amount of weight that you're able to do by doing the 100? So, like you said, you could do 135 100 times. If you were going to put on your max weight, would it be like something like 4 times that or something because you got stronger doing those?
Well, what happened for me is I was able to squat 515 for 5 reps.
Oh, wow.
By
Okay.
doing that strategy. I weighed about 185 at that point. Now I was in my late 20s when I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I got plenty of hormone. Everything's good. You're like bulletproof at that age. But it did
Right.
help me, in my opinion, to get to that level. Uh, but when you're lifting heavy too, that's another scary tactic too. You got to keep them getting hurt. But yeah, I think it. We're going to talk more about the benefits of it. But I mean,
Right.
I thought it was a great thing to do to help break plateaus, help me, especially with a weaker muscle group. So.
Well, you've named a couple things, but I I guess that's something that we should talk about is why would anyone want to do high reps in your opinion? I mean, it sounds like it's pretty grueling and you're extremely sore afterwards. So, you know, what do you think that they would be thinking?
Well, again, you don't have to go to 100 reps. So that's the thing to keep in
Okay.
mind. So
Okay.
even if you're 12 to 20 or 30, that kind of thing, what you're going to find is it will improve your muscular endurance. So again, when you're lifting heavier, you got better endurance because your body's
Gotcha.
adapting to that stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it can help, improve the body's performance of repetitions as well, because biomechanically you're in good control and you're working on your form, your technique, and so you don't fatigue as dramatically from a heavier set. Okay, but you're also working the range of motion really well. It
Mm-hmm.
also is going to give you some cardiovascular benefits because you're going to use a lot of oxygen to get those sets done. So one of the keys I would say though, um, it's going to help increase blood flow and things like that, but just don't do the repetitions fast. You want to do that range of motion and under control, because what I see a lot of people do when they're doing high reps is they're trying to get to that number and they're just doing fast. That's not a lot of benefit, which we talked
Right.
about in previous shows. So don't do them real fast. Just gut them out one at a time, but you will see improvement. Now, it also build muscle size. There's you can do low reps with heavy weight, which promotes high, can help with the strength gains and also help with some size, because basically they determined that you can get muscle hypertrophy from 3 reps all the way to 100 as long as you go to muscular failure.
Right.
So
Right.
with the lower rep sets, you don't necessarily have to go quite to muscular failure because of the amount of stress. So there's a little difference there. But when you do a higher rep set, like 20 or more, if you want to activate the white fast twitch muscle fibers, you've got to go pretty close to muscular failure or at muscular failure, which is doable because the weight's not so dangerous to
Right.
push it with. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
that's the other thing there. But that's one of the myths is people think, well, high reps don't build muscle. Well, yes, it can. Okay, because of that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this as another thing though, it's also a great calorie burner because the demands you're putting on the body. So if you're looking to burn a lot more calories, help reduce your glucose levels, which is going to help you lose more body fat, because once you reduce your glucose down, you're going to have to start using some fat to keep your energy up. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the other thing when you're depleting those glucose levels. So it does have some benefits there as a calorie burner and also help with some fat loss. The other final point I wanted to make though is your risk of injury is low, but it's also a great rehab type of method too. So when you're doing the higher reps, you're going to get less stress on the joints and ligaments, which is why
Mm-hmm.
it's good. But it gets a lot of blood flow in there, so it helps the healing part of it. So it's going to help those connective tissues. And then again, you don't have to worry about injury. So for people who have joint issues, that had a lot of achiness or pain, this is a great way to take the pressure off. But remember, you're not going to lose muscle, because if you're training to muscular failure close to it, you're going to retain it. But that's where
Mm-hmm.
people get off track and think you got to lift heavy to get the results. I'm all for heavy lifting, but I've also learned that this still works. So you want to put that in your repertoire of options to keep things fresh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. A lot of great information, Armin. All right. So, what about people that are saying high reps will mostly just lean you out?
Yeah, that's another myth. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Really what leads you out is your nutrition. I mean, proper nutrition and learn how to burn fat is really what's going to get you lean down. But the only way you'll burn some fat from the training just because of triglycerides, but
Mm-hmm.
that's really not a big deal. So what really happens is, people start thinking, well, if I go higher rep, I'm going to burn more. I mean, it does burn some more energy, but at the end of the day, what's really going on here is you can't lift as heavy because you're dieting.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing your next option is, well, I can't lift as heavy, but I can still go with a lighter weight. So you're going to
Right.
go, try to take it to muscular failure. So that's what really happens. So they just associate just because you're doing higher reps, you're leaning out more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really not the case. Nutrition is what leans you out. I mean, you're not burning fat when you train. It comes from the nutrition side of the element. So that's what people need to understand.
Hmm.
Um, and the new science is saying that, with that being said as well, that again, like I mentioned before, 3 reps or more, if you go to close to muscular failure, you're still going to get, again, using good form and safety, you're still going to get a lot of benefits from it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that is going to start leaning you out. So, I just want to say that's really a myth.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So what about the number of sets when you're doing high rep and when you do the 100 rep set?
Okay, that's a good question. So typically with high rep sets of 12 to 30, obviously you can do multiple sets because, you even if you take them to failure because, you're not stressing the body out quite so quickly. So you can do multiple sets, not really a problem. But it really depends on the goal that you have and the volume and training time. So if you're trying to get a lot of volume in, and again, I like to keep my training around 45 minutes or less just to hit it hard, break down as much muscle as I can. That way I can get good recovery. So that's how I approach it.
Okay.
So, the number of sets is just going to depend on how long it takes you to get there, but you will get a lot of volume when doing that. And again, you don't have to do high rep sets the whole training session. You can still do some low rep sets, but then also, throw a high rep set in there if you wanted to
Right.
get a
Right.
change up. So it's something you can kind of play with. Now the 100 rep set, it can be done at any time. You can do it at the beginning, you can do it at the middle, or you can do it at the end. I don't recommend the middle or the end so much because, again, if you're hitting it hard with some heavy stuff, you have to go really, really light to even do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like kind of doing it first, but you can still do it. It's not really a problem. Especially if again, you're trying to jumpstart a weak muscle group and you're really trying to challenge it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, just understand that when you do that 100 rep set, whether you do it at the beginning, the middle, or the end, you're going to be pretty fatigued. So you got to kind of
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind. So that's how I kind of approach that.
Well, it's definitely interesting on how you can achieve and kind of work your way up to that 100 rep set. But, Armin, when do you find yourself doing high reps in your training?
That's another good question. So I still like to train heavy. So typically, I'm going to do the 6 to 12 rep range for upper body,
Okay.
to kind of use heavy weight. But I prefer to do like 12 to 20 reps for my lower body. I just
Hmm.
found that for me, my legs tend to respond better. I'm using as much weight as I can and heavy as possible, but I'm staying more in that 12 to 20, because I just feel like it works good. And
Mm-hmm.
well, I find out with a lot of my clients too, especially guys. Some guys can bend down and do a squat and put an inch on their legs, but I'm not one of those guys. And a lot of clients I work with, they don't have that capacity either. So for on upper body, I use high rep for, like, again, weak body part like my back. So typically when I'm doing high rep type activity is, I'll typically do pull downs, or cable machines, machine rows. Okay, when I'm doing high rep sets, because there's good control there. You don't have to worry about getting injured, and that's the thing. You have good control, and you can work on your form. So that's a good thing because you're not
Okay.
going to get 100 reps doing pull ups. I mean, well, you
Right.
could, but you really got to work up to that. I mean,
Oh,
that would be a
yeah.
stretch. And then for like chest movements, like pec deck, flies, or cable rows, I can do, if I wanted to work on my inner chest and, more striations, I can do a 100 rep set on a pec deck. You're gonna be sore as hell, but if that's a weak area, probably want to give that a shot. It just again, it's flies, cables, and in fact, like your triceps when you do chest work, if you're doing
Mm-hmm.
presses, your triceps are going to give out, and you're not going to really get the full effect. So you really want to isolate with that type, and isolation movements are good for this as well. So that's what you're doing there for chest. Again, then for like the shoulders, lateral raises. If you want to fry your shoulders, doing 100 rep lateral raises is a good way to go on that. And then, like again, for smaller muscle groups like triceps, I just do cable and machine type exercises, and biceps would be machine and cable type exercises, simply because you have a little more control with those, and I really feel that they're much easier to work with. Now, you could do it with dumbbells, like dumbbell curls or whatever, but you're going to have to go really, really light. It is doable. It's just a matter of I don't typically use those methods because, again, in that case, my forearms may give out just trying to hang on to the dumbbells the whole time, as an example there. So, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you're gonna, as the muscle becomes more engorged with blood and lactic acid from you getting to that point, whether it's 20 or 30 reps, depending on what you're using, it's going to affect your range of motion anyways. And there's going to be a point where the pump gets so intense, you're not going to be able to move because the lactic acid is just going to shut you down. So that's something else that's going to come with doing a high rep set.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about it is, if you want to push a little bit further, even though you went to muscular failure, you can still do like partial reps just to really maximize the pump.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's just there's some people like partial reps and people don't. I don't mind doing them just because I get maybe one or two more just to make sure I really exhausted the muscle group. So kind of a long-winded answer on that.
No, really interesting. I never thought, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't ever thought of like how many reps can I do going up to 100. It kind of seems out there, but going 40 and 50, I've seen that before. So,
Yeah,
I
which is still
actually
good
found it.
too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's all very interesting, but unfortunately, we're running out of time. Any final thoughts as we wrap up this segment for today?
Yeah, so in my opinion, if you've have an injury or had an injury, this is a great thing to do to
Hmm.
help rehab the muscle group, because when you use lighter weight, you get good blood flow, and that helps get the nutrients into the area to help the healing process. If you go too heavy and you have an injury or past injury, the body's not recovered from that injury, then you're going to get swelling from the heavier weight, and that's going to aggravate it and make it
Mm-hmm.
worse. So higher rep sets are great to help with the healing process. And again, any kind of rehab you're doing. Like for example, I pulled my hamstring playing basketball, and it was a bad injury. So it wasn't. It could have been a lot worse, but still, it was a lot of pain. So
Mm-hmm.
once the swelling went down, the way I rehabbed it, I just did leg curls, and so I started with one plate. And the first time I did it, I only got like 30 reps, and the area kind of gave out because of the fatigue. So, I let it recover. Then next time I did it, I moved it up to and tried to get, another 10 or 20 reps, which I did. And I, again, worked up to 100 reps. So then once I got to 100 reps, then I added more. I was able to add weight and then focus on just staying at the 50 rep range. And my hamstring just got stronger and stronger. Next thing I know, I was back to using the weight I wanted to use. So that's just
Hmm.
an example there.
Okay.
Also, if you want a good change up or a way to shock a muscle out of a plateau, great way to do that, because again, it really wakes you up to the reality of the fatigue. And then you can still build muscle with it. So that's the other thing that people need to keep in mind. Again, you got to get it close to muscular failure or at muscular failure. So, there's a lot of benefits to it, and you want to incorporate it from time to time. Again, with depending on what your strategy is, it will work. So
Right. Right. Hmm. Well, a lot of great information. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that segment as much as I did. Especially for injuries. That's really some great
yeah,
information. So, Armin, thanks for sharing all that, doing all the research and sharing all that knowledge with us. We're going to take a quick break. Stand by for a quick word from NSP Nutrition. Armin and I will be right back.
welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills, and before we get started with fan questions, I've got to talk about that NSP Nutrition beef liver. Man, I'll tell you what, if you're looking for high quality, all natural beef liver, if you've tried a lot of different things like Armin and I have, I can promise you, you won't be disappointed with NSP's version of the beef liver. And, Armin, there's a lot of different brands out there, a lot of different things that you can try, but this is by far the most effective and the best I've ever had. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I came across many years ago when I came across beef liver, I didn't really think about it. I mean, long time ago, they were pretty popular, but they were in a tablet form, and they were just nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, so it wasn't something I just didn't really grasp it. But when I found them with NSP, they were encapsulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I took them, after I learned more about what they do, and I started taking them, I was just impressed with how well they absorbed and then the effects. So, and when they ran out, which NSP tend to do from time to time, I want to keep taking the beef liver capsules. So I tried three different companies,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, they just were tearing my stomach up. So I couldn't even finish the bottle, which was real disappointing. And that was just me. I mean, maybe other people don't have that issue, but that's what I found. I don't have that issue at all with the NSP beef liver capsules.
Well, and another good thing, and I know that we've talked about this before, but if you've never fasted and you want to ease yourself into it,
Oh yeah,
Armin, it's a great added protein resource if you're going to fast, and it has worked terrific for me. But that's something that you showed me, and so whether it's a single day or for 3 days or for how long you want to
yeah,
fast, it's a great supplement for that as well.
yeah. I mean, again, it's just going to give you some protein there, which can help with some less muscle breakdown. Technically, it's not you know, a pure fast, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be effective for you. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if you haven't tried it, log on to nspnutrition.com and try it today. Right now, they've got, again, some great sales and a Valentine's Day special that you should definitely take
yeah.
advantage of. So, that being
Yep.
said, let's get on with the show now. I brought up the beef liver for a couple of different reasons, and one, because our fan questions involve in beef liver. And the first one
Uh,
is from Melissa. She heard our show when you were talking about the potato vodka and how it helped you
yeah.
recover from a hangover. So she's like, oh, so she went out and
Hmm.
found some potato vodka and made herself a drink or two or whatever and
Whatever.
enjoyed herself. But at the end of the night, she drank a glass of water with 10 beef liver capsules. And she said,
Hmm.
lo and behold, no hangover the next morning. So she wanted to
Yeah.
thank you for that. Some great advice.
Well, no problem. Good to
So,
hear people are actually using some of the strategies.
that's right. That's right. So, when you take the beef liver, Armin, that actually kind of detoxifies your liver. Is that what that does?
Yeah, so when you eat liver, it's the same process, like versus like. So the body recognizes those elements and it just helps to re-nourish, you know, the liver because
Mm-hmm.
of the glandular of the that comes from the extracted beef liver. So, if you eat liver, it's going to help you. I mean, you can do the same effect just by eating liver.
Right,
But if you
right.
don't want to eat the liver, then the capsules help to do that. So that's the beauty of it. When you eat
Yeah.
liver, it's going to detox. It's going to have the benefits. It's just this is so much more convenient and effective.
Yeah. I actually, when I was growing up, I had to eat the liver and onions, and I'm glad that I don't do that anymore. I don't miss
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I'd rather take the capsules myself. So, but hey, we're glad that that worked for you, Melissa, and thanks for sharing that
Yep.
with us. It's pretty funny.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Our next one is from Landon, and Landon implemented the beef liver into the fasting aspect, what we discussed and what we just talked
Okay.
about. Um, his first fast that he tried a day, and he took 5, 5, and 5. Well, he found out the 5 wasn't really enough. So the next day he did
Yeah.
a 1 day fast. He took 10, 10, and 10. And he said, I
Mm.
got through that day a lot easier. But
Yeah.
then when we were talking about the show, Armin, we had talked about Frank doing the 3 day fast. So he thought, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to try that. Well, he got about into
That's pretty
halfway
tough.
into day 2 and timeout. That was enough.
Yeah.
But he said he has implemented the fasting into his nutrition plan, his workout plan, and he feels that
Mm.
it helps keep him on track, having that 1 day fast to kind of reset every week. And thank you for actually sharing all that
Oh.
information.
Yeah, I mean, I do a fast one day a week, 24-hour fast 1 day a week. Now, I don't do the beef liver with it because, I'm older and I'm looking to clear out, what happens is when you do a 24-hour fast, you don't take anything except coffee, water, or tea, that kind of thing. You're going to be uh, getting any undigested proteins will be ate up from the fasting process, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. And then any old senescent cells, because of the mild stress on the body, they're going to get ate up, okay, taken care of. And then you have an opportunity to just generate some stem cells through the bone marrow by doing these fasting periods. So now a 3 day fast is even more effective. But at the end of the day, when you're training, I think that's pretty tough to do because you just basically have to take 3 days off. You cannot be training. I don't think you can be training when you're doing a fast like that because you're breaking down muscle and you need something to help repair. So that's how I look at that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and it definitely helps me in regards to I I I guess it's more of a mindset thing because when you fast, your body's going through a little bit of adversity, and it does help you
Well,
mentally as
it's
well, I
stress.
think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, it's stress. I mean, your body, okay, so your body has built-in mechanisms for these kind of things because, as a hunter-gatherer, as we evolved, there were days where you didn't have anything to eat. So
Hmm.
your body had to have these mechanisms so you could stay alert to hunt, so you can get something to eat. So that's why
Hmm.
it's built that way. You can't just be getting, that's why people think, well, if you eat fast, you're going to get run down, you're going to have low energy, you're going to have all these things. They're just making assumptions because of the way they use energy. But no, when you can't eat, your body's like, hey, we need to be alert for survival reasons and to be able to, see and think and act the way we need to act. So it's
Hmm.
more of a instant survival thing.
Well, a lot of great information. We appreciate your fan questions and information and your feedback. And we're always looking for more. So if you've used
Yeah.
any of the NSP supplements, if they've enhanced anything that you've done, your nutrition plan,
Hmm.
it's helped you on a diet, if it's just helped you feel better, we sure would like to know about it. And it would greatly appreciate it if you share that with us. There's different ways
Yep.
to do that. You can scan the QR code on the screen, contact us that way. You can comment on
Hmm.
YouTube. There's quite a few of them there. Or you can email us direct at support@nspnutrition.com. And, Armin, we're
Yep.
always looking for that feedback because it helps you with content for the show and also helps with our fan questions segment where we're able to address our listener or our viewer directly. And we really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we can help people, that's what it's all about. And again, if you feel like you're getting benefits from this, be sure to share it with other people so they can learn about some of these ideas and maybe we can help them as well.
Absolutely. Over 1,000 subscribers, and we appreciate all of you for doing so. And that being said, that's the end of the show. So join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP show at the checkout. Catch you next time.